Yo, we just people from the north side. Once some Timmy's at the shore fine. Winter ready on the four ties. Heavy traffic during 4-5. Gotta hustle on your own time. Color people every port side. We just people from the north side.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's your host, your boy George Mackay. This is pre-recorded, but it is incredibly early, but that's okay because I have one of my favorite people in wrestling that I really admire right now at this stage in her career. The one and only, well, actually, let me give you a little background. Battle Arts trained, now a WoW superstar, recently seen on MLP, Maple Leaf Pro, in that great Fatal 4-Way match. She has been around, kicking ass, taking names since just after the pandemic. The one and only Arorua Teves. Welcome to Straight Talk Wrestling.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. It's so hard when you reach out to wrestlers because you guys are so busy, you're so crazy. Some of you have to balance work and life and wrestling all in one. So it's hard. And when I don't hear back right away, I never take it personally. So when I saw you at the last Destiny show, we said it, and right away you were like, "Oh my God, I never check my messages." I was like, "It's all good. Don't worry about it. We'll get this set up, and here we are." So it's cool.
No, it's so cool. And especially the DMs are a scary place sometimes, especially if it goes into like if we're not necessarily friends on Facebook or, have the existing conversation. I try to stay away from message requests.
I feel you. I get you completely, and it's also got to be challenging when you, like I said, you have to balance your real life, but also mix with this persona that a lot of people don't realize are a persona. A lot of people still believe that you are a pro wrestler 24/7, and that's not the case necessarily. So actually, that leads into my first question perfectly. How do you balance, your Vanessa's life, and how do you balance Kanai's life and Aurora's life? How do you balance everything all together to try to not mix up these personas?
You mean it's not all just one part? What are you talking about? Um, Honestly, I think I like to bring the same approach to every aspect of. So wherever there is me, there's probably I like to say, just disclaimer, I'm a Libra, I like to operate on that nice scale. So I am as optimistic and cheerful as enthusiastic as I am cynical and, a little bit like, So I just like to bring everything on the same wavelength. And I think approaching that to everything. Libras, we're all about balance. And now sometimes we might be too cool, calm, collected, but then it just, accounts for when we're like pacing back and forth in circles. So have I figured out a clear cut balance? I'd be lying to you if I said that I did, but just bring the same good energy to everything. And then eventually, it all pans out.
I love that. The same good, clean energy to everything. Now, I have to talk about you on WoW. I've enjoyed the work that you've done. I think Kara is a great character, and WoW is someplace special that I hold in my heart because being a girl dad, my daughters and my wife is me and my wife are a big wrestling fan. That's one of the things that as soon as I met her, I'm like, "Oh my God, you're a wrestling fan? Oh, I'm gonna put a ring on that." Because very rarely when you find someone who's a wrestling fan just like you are, you gotta lock that down. You have to lock that down.
Yeah.
We welcome two beautiful daughters into the world, and they've been wrestling fans with us since as early as we could get them involved in it. We have, but WoW is so great, especially being a girl dad, because it's literally a roster of superheroes. That's what it is to me. That's what my daughters. So when we do watch it, we enjoy it so much. I mean, me and my daughter, the mini host, who's no longer really the mini host. She's too cool now. She's 16. She's doing her thing. But we interviewed Hollywood Haley J. Now I've got you to add to the list. So many great members of the WoW team and how incredible that show is. Still a little underrated, I believe, but incredible nonetheless. What's it like being a WoW superhero right now?
Honestly, wow. Not only does it do the same kind of effect for like young women that even just want to watch it, but even for myself in the wrestling business, like WoW's really it gives a place and a platform for women. It doesn't really matter where you come from or what your background was, as long as you're willing to like put in the work and learn and be like a collaborative team member, like there's a place for you. And it's just really cool being able to know that like no matter what your body type is, no matter what your background is, if you watch WoW and you're a girl, like there's going to be someone that you're like, that's me. And like I remember growing up, there wasn't as many there was some really great, cool women, but it was a very like even a lot of me watching wrestling was like Divas era. And as beautiful as those women were, I knew I was never going to. I'm 5 foot nothing, and I'm Portuguese, and I'm a little hippie. I was like, I'm never going to be Maurice. As beautiful as that lovely gazelle with her beautiful long legs is, I'm like, I'm never going to be that. So when I look at it, I was like, I can love it, but I'm never gonna, you know. So now it's like on WoW we have so many different characters, and they're characters, so it's fun for kids, but at the same time, it's like fun for adults. Like I don't know. WoW's just my happy place. Like it's literally just like a place that's all about empowering women, and they don't just say it. Like they built an entire roster around it. And do we always get the respect that I think it's deserved? No, but I think we just keep going. And this season, I feel like it's the best wrestling all round that WoW's put out. We're super happy with the way like the season went, and I think people are going to start putting a little extra respect on WoW's name.
I love that. I think that's a true statement. And I got to go back to something you said. You said 5 foot nothing. We've all seen what 5 foot nothings can do. Okay, Rey Mysterio became a world champion. So 5 foot nothings, they have the ability to kick a little ass in that ring. Plus, you're Portuguese, and I have a lot of Portuguese friends, and every Portuguese has an underlining mean streak. Okay, don't fuck with the Portuguese because they will fuck you up, especially during soccer season. Now, that's when I love to heckle my Portuguese friends because you may have one of the best players in the world, but Messi still got it done. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, I'm just going to leave it off the table. But back to everything that you've been through. I know that you trained at Battle Arts under Santino Marella at the time. Now he's no longer kind of training it. He's a partner, but there are other people kind of overtaking it now. The wrestling program is flourishing there once again. And you made your debut 2016. Then I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, if I've done my research correctly, and I try to pride myself in my research, but it's hard to find everything you can. I believe you went over to England for a little bit. Pandemic happened, things slowed down, but then right out of the gates in the pandemic 2021, you were hitting all cylinders and you have not slowed down since.
That's me. I feel like you summed it up. Um,
Perfect.
so my start with battle arts, the first like about 2 years, I was actually in university. So I would come back for like the summer months, and I was only allowed doing battle arts style wrestling. So at the time, that was based in submission and catch wrestling under Yuki Ishikawa. So not necessarily everyone's typical pro wrestling start, but it was really cool. So like my first 2 summers, it was almost like summer camp for me because I was off at university, and Santino's big advice was I wasn't allowed starting wrestling till I was at least 18. So I did kickboxing in the background of the shadows of battle arts, just waiting to get into the program. And then he was like, go off to school. And then you can always, like, battle arts is your home. It's not going anywhere. So I was like, okay, fine. But then I was so eager to get into it. He's like, fine, you're not taking bumps yet, but you can learn like catch wrestling. So technically it started in 2017, but I didn't have my first like pro wrestling match until, and that was still at a student show until like 2017, the summer of. So it was a good time.
Absolutely. What was it like? I mean, learning under the tree of Akujikawa, like you said, and Santino Marella, learning from these guys who have like literally been staples in their countries, in their promotions, coming together, learning those two different styles. You're learning the North American style, but you're also learning the Japanese style, which is so much more hard hitting, so much more stronger, so much craziness. I love him. He's adorable, by the way. Or she. Is that a girl or a boy?
So there's three. This is a husky household. So that one's Freya.
Okay, perfect. Husky House. Oh, my kid, my 16-year-old will be all over it right now. She would say, "I can babysit anytime for you." I know she would, 150%.
I'm adding her to the you just auditioned, like signed her up. So I'm keeping that in here.
100%. She loves Huskies. That's her favorite breed of dog, 100%. When you learn to balance those two styles, it kind of gives you a little bit of extra in your toolbox. And I feel like it helps you evolve and pick up other styles faster. I feel like the more styles you learn, the more you can mishmash the styles together. Would I be correct in saying that?
So it's funny. So at the beginning of my wrestling career, when I started working on the indies, I almost felt a little bit lost with it because I felt like I didn't fully know how to merge the skill sets. So when I worked with people that had trained with Santino and Yuki, I felt like I was like, okay, this is where this piece goes and this is where this piece goes. And then when I started getting out into the indies, I was like, well, how do I mesh these like styles? And I think I finally found like a nice way to mix in the two where it's like I can be fiery and throw in my like majority of my moveset is my kicks, and it's I was legitimately trained in kickboxing through it. So I was like, I get to use these like really shoot aspects. And now I feel like I found like a sweet spot of like mixing them in and merging them. And then it wasn't until I was really wrestling in Europe and got to work with some Joshi wrestlers as well that I realized like even though we weren't like there's one gal, Sarah Leon, and she's from Spain, and working with her, like we don't speak the same language, but we spoke the same strikes. And we didn't plan the beginning of our match. We're like, yeah, we'll just, we'll wrestle. And that took us so far. And it's actually one of like my favorite matches that we did for RCW in Spain. And it's legitimately like a place in my heart that I'd wrestle her with my eyes closed every single day. And I think it's cool that it's like I've found that sweet spot of it where it doesn't it's legitimately grappling. So it's fun.
Absolutely. Listen, all that kind of old school wrestling, that grappling style, I think is a lost art. I feel like we've lost a bit of ourselves with so much of the high spots and the high flying. I feel like the storytelling has stumbled a little bit. Not to say it's not great now. I just I'm an old school fan in a lot of ways where I appreciate the build. I appreciate like tag team wrestling is some of my favorite. I appreciate the, locking one member down, the hot tag, almost getting it, not getting it, and then it happens, and then it's like, yes, I'm still a kid in a candy store with situations like that. And I feel like when you're a world traveled wrestler like you, like I've seen some of the matches you did. One of my favorite matches is one of the matches you did at ICW. I absolutely love that match. I thought you killed it. The Fatal 4-Way at MLP was fantastic. I saw 4 legitimate threats in one ring and 2 representing the North with such pride in you and Taylor Rising that's what makes me smile. Being a kid from Canada, pro wrestling, when I was younger, and God knows I age you by like a decade and a bit for sure. But Bret Hart, the Hart family, those were our heroes. Those were the people we put our stock in. And then as it evolved, it became like the Jacques Rougeaus and the insurgents out of Quebec. And then, of course, we get the little lull, but then now we're back again with guys like Kevin Owens and the staples that are happening, but also 90% of the MLP roster. Josh Alexander has been repping the Canadian flag for a very long time. When I look at Canada and what Canada brings and the fact that our talent is often slept on, I feel as a Canadian wrestler, you have a chip on your shoulder. Would I be wrong to say that you constantly feel, even though you are proven and even though you are world traveled and you have wrestled some of the best talents here and abroad, it's almost like, oh, you're Canadian? Oh, that's cool. Where'd you learn in an igloo? It's like, it's so stupid, right?
It's funny. So like I thought so for the longest time I thought that was like the kind of thought process. But until I was in the UK, Canada is very highly regarded, and I feel like everyone knows the exports that we put out. So I think sometimes our biggest issue is that we sleep on ourselves.
Hmm.
And I think being America's, I don't know, little cousin, upper neighbor, whatever you want to call it, I think sometimes we put obviously there's border limitations, but when it comes to like comparison limitations, I think we put that own chip on our shoulder because we know how much harder it is with how like spaced out everything is. Like you're not in the UK, you can do 2 shows a day, easy. You can do like 6 shows in a weekend because the furthest you're really driving, like if you travel 5 hours, you're like you cross the country for the most part. Whereas you drive 5 hours here, you're still in Ontario. Like you're you start in the middle and you're still like there's more than 5 hours each way. Like no matter what direction you're looking in.
Yeah.
So I think we have that, and then we know that it's like everyone's like, oh, like in the UK, everyone's like, oh, but you can just wrestle in the States whenever. And I was like, yeah, no, yeah, yeah, like that's not the Canadian existence. So I think we know that, and to get to where those, for the most part, like the big three are, they're all in the States. So I think we have that chip of like we can see it, but we can't grab it the way that some of our American friends can. Um, but when it comes to like how Canadians are regarded, I don't think anyone sleeps on us. I think everyone knows that we're the ones to watch for.
Hmm. I like that. You're probably the first person that's actually laid out the perspective that we're not slept on anymore. A lot of people still out there, I think, have the same mindset, and I think I'm the same way. I think I'm slept on. I've been repping the Ontario scene. I've been repping Canada since I started this podcast almost a decade ago. And some of the talents that I've interviewed, some of how quickly their stars have risen, is truly unbelievable. And when I sit back and reflect, I'm like, damn, man. Uh, there have been some amazing conversations. Just to see the growth of Canadian talent, especially in this last decade, it makes me smile as a Canadian pro wrestling fan. But it also lets me know There's still so much work to do. And then Scott D'Amore comes along, and I was always wondering, I'm like, man, I wish we had an all Canadian promotion to really showcase this talent, somebody to put money behind us and kind of give us that full time platform. And then lo and behold, Scott D'Amore comes and he raises MLP from the ashes like a phoenix, goes on, has two incredible nights of pro wrestling. And now he's got everyone salivating, and we're waiting. We're waiting. We're wondering. We're hoping. So my next question, I guess I'm asking for some breaking news if you've got it. Do we have any plans for MLP in 2025 that
I
you
mean,
know of?
if you know anything about Scott Moore, you know he's not just going to do a one-off.
No, it's true.
Man likes to top himself, so I'm not going to be the case of spoilers, but I would just say you should be watching closely.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I do like that. I like how you gave me a little something and then you quickly took it away.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. You've
something's gonna happen. What is it? When is it?
all right. All right, I'm gonna have to stay at bay there for that one. Now I have to talk again about WoW and everything that WoW is doing and how incredible, like you said, I feel like you're right when you say this season by far is the one that the whole locker room, the whole production team, the whole team in general is very collectively excited and happy about and everything that they're doing. And I feel like this may be the year where recognition is a little bit easier to come by with just how hot pro wrestling is on all platforms. But I don't know if she's still involved in the process, but AJ Lee, I know, has been a very big supporter and a big part of everything to do with WoW. Have you yourself had any conversations with AJ? Have you picked her brain in any way to, I guess, up your skill set even more?
Heartbreaking bit is that as AJ was kind of like thing, so I never got to cross over with AJ. So my little wrestling heart kind of broke a little bit there. But um I know that so this season it kind of came up real quick, and then we basically had like one giant set of tapings. I was really excited about the fact, so didn't get to meet AJ, but I really got to like get a little nosy in and like work with people that are such like great quiet leaders, like even um so like someone that like I was really excited to work with, Santana Garrett and like Holodead are both like locker room leaders, and they're like the lead by example, not lead by fear. So it's like they created such like a positive atmosphere, and like getting to like see these like two women that are absolute pillars in the indies amongst other promotions and everything like that, done so much, but lead with such kindness and like raise up everyone around them, whether you're an indie worker or like an actress and you just started with WoW, like they take in everyone and just lead by such a good example. But then they're also amazing, incredible workers. So getting to learn under them has been really cool. So I didn't meet AJ, but got some other gals.
Yeah, but still, Santana Garrett and Holodead, those are two names that are highly regarded in this industry. Holodead has, I love the work she did at MLW. I enjoyed the whole run there. I think the character is great. I've met her a few times, been able to call a few of her matches, like I've been able to call a few of yours at Destiny Wrestling. It's been exciting to see the growth of the women's division in Destiny. And you came back during the kind of resurgence. There was the whole tournament process, and then now we have a representative of our own in Noof as our champion, but you're still there. You're a fixture. You have an opportunity, possibly in 2025, to challenge Noof for that title. And I would be very excited to call that match, to see two homegrown Ontario girls go toe to toe for that title. And I think that it shouldn't just be a regular match. I think Arorua Teves and Noof are ready for like an Iron Woman match. Give me 30 minutes. I think you guys would put on one hell of a show. Would you agree with that kind of maybe not necessarily that stipulation, but would you be excited to have some kind of match where you two can just go balls to the wall?
I mean, I'd take 30 minutes with Newf. I mean, just getting to raise myself to that standard would be super cool. Like I know I can hang, and I think what we could do, and it's like it's nice to know that we have like these like Ontario wrestling and Canadian wrestling in general is building up Canadians. So having a championship match with two Canadians in a show that's kind of known, like Destiny is the place where they're bringing in people. So far my two opponents have both been Americans. So like it's great, but it's like it'd be really cool to just raise that standard of like we can hold down the fort on our own as well. So
Absolutely.
I'm I put myself I you know put myself up as tribute. I'm next.
I like that. Okay, Hunger Games, little Hunger Games reference. I love it. I love it. I put myself up as tribute. I love it. All right. I actually read a very interesting tweet as I was doing my research. There was a tweet from a fan that a good friend of ours, Rohan Raja, he retweeted. It says, "You, Kid Chocolate, and somebody else would be amazing for the WWE ID program." And your name was first on that list. So it was Aurora, it was Kid Chocolate, and it was the other individual whose name is slipping me, so I apologize. But when he retweeted it, I retweeted it. And I look at the number of retweets that it's had since then. It's been a very positive number. It's elevated. It's not trending, but it's elevated. When you hear of the WWE ID program and all the names that they are highlighting, all the names that they are spotting, and we've already had a few surprises here in the North of who's been picked and who's been selected. We
So,
also, yeah, we also have a few North representatives. One of your Battle Arts friends and students, Bianca Corelli's already over there. Ariana Grace, she's making waves in NXT. The whole pageant gimmick. Nobody plays just a egotistical pain in the ass quite like Bianca Corelli. She really does shine in that aspect.
which is funny because she's such a nice gal to have in a locker room, but like if there's like a charisma apple on a tree, like that's she is a Morella. She is a Morella. Like she even back when we were like students in student shows, we would be taking like I mean, we did have like one of the best photographers ever, Andrea Kellaway, but like these ring shots at a student show and Bianca just like is like putting someone in a hold and just looks like the most be like you would think it was a still shot that she posed for. I'm like, how do you do that? Like so love B.
Yeah, it's like How I Met Your Mother, Barney. He can never take a bad picture.
Yeah, it's literally like some like little Instagram reel as well. Like there was like a little trending moment whereas like when your girlfriend's photogenic, it's like that's literally Bianca Crowley. The girl just like looks to the left and she's like
Whereas,
majestic.
whereas me, when I take photos, I look like Quasimodo.
Where I'm like, I look nice. And then I see a photo of it and I'm like, I'm working on the photogenicness.
Yeah, I have to. Whenever I take a photo, like even when I take, like I've taken some shots for Straight Talk, like promo shots and stuff like that. Whenever I have to do it, I have to do like I have to put my head down, and then I have to quickly get up and like point at the camera with like smoldering intensity. But then I try not to laugh because I'm like I'm not an intense person. I have no intensity in me whatsoever.
I feel like so my thing is still photos. I got a good still photo.
Okay.
But in photos, apparently I just get way too into it and I just look like a little ball of rage or like I'm being mercilessly killed. So usually just not two of the most photogenic moments, do my
Oh,
best.
it's very juxtaposition on that for sure, 100%. But of course, that's the Portuguese in you. Like I said, I've called a few of your matches at Destiny, and yeah, when Maggie Lee was all over you, you were like, "No, I'm done. I've had enough of this. I'm going to run through you, over you, under you, whatever I can do because now I'm pissed." And you also do that like primal scream in the ring where I'm like, "Oh, she's pissed. Okay, she's unhinged now. It's happening."
It was passed down from the womb. You should my mom, she's 4'11". Oh, she's a spicy pepper, that one.
She still gets you sometimes when she gets like the yell and you're like, "Oh my God, I'm like 6 years old all over again."
Or sometimes it's even just the look, like the slow look across.
Oh,
I'm like, oh, I messed that one up.
I think I got the dad look down pretty good. I think I got the dad look down pretty good. Like when my kids annoy me, I'll just be like,
I love that. And then they're like, oh, this is a talk in the car.
don't, if I don't blink, it's game over. It's checkmate. Okay. 100%. Now, when I look at the evolution of Aurora, I look at the evolution of Kara, I look at the evolution of Vanessa. We're talking close to almost a decade in this business, training, debut, all that stuff, and how far you progressed. Would you say your career is on the trajectory that you are satisfied with? And you kind of feel like you've nailed all the points you wanted to nail at this point in your career, or do you feel like you still have way more plethoras you wanted to hit by this point?
I think I'm really happy with the things that I've already accomplished, but I'm not content, if that makes sense. So I'm like, by no ways would I ever look back at all of the really cool things that I've done. Like I've wrestled in places like Finland. Like I got paid to wrestle all over Europe. Like I got to wrestle in places that most of my family has not even had the thought of visiting. Like weekend trips to Barcelona to wrestle was just like my normal event, you know? Like so when I think back and I was like I almost got so used to that I was like, oh, this is just a norm for me. I'm like, oh yeah, spending months at a time in California. It's like wrestling in Vegas, like getting the whole Fremont Street turned down. I was like, oh yeah, like that's just kind of my life. But then when you look back at it, it's like, no, those are really cool things. I'm really happy about them. I'm super proud of them. But at the same time, it's like I only want more. Like I know that I'm only at like reaching this pinnacle of like I really found my groove. It's only going to continue to get better from here. So am I at the trajectory I want to be? I don't know. Wrestling's not linear. It's hard to say. Because I'm like, if you ask 12-year-old me, I'd be like, but I didn't do this and I didn't do this because I had like this really solid plan as a 12-year-old where it was gonna, I was like, yeah, I'll get signed in 2 years. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Because I was 12. But like, have I done all the things I want to do? No. Am I going to do them? Absolutely. There's no options. So,
No short of confidence for 5 foot nothing, as you put it. But that actually ties perfectly into back to my WWE ID question. So you get kind of penned as somebody that would be excellent for the program. What we see in the program already accomplished in a short time. Eyes are everywhere. You never really know what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. You could literally be wrestling a show in backwoods Texas, and William Regal just shows up with an ID, you know, case. If that happens, would that be something you would be interested in?
I feel like it's like there's always going to be interest regardless. It's like whenever you're looking for like next steps, I'm like right now I'm really happy with what like the work I'm doing with WoW, but at the same time the beauty of it all is with wrestling it's like opportunities are literally everywhere and they're endless and if you're necessarily seeking for them they might not be there but the minute I feel like it's almost like the relationship advice everyone gives it's like oh if you stop looking the right person's just gonna like that's when you'll find them. So honestly, I feel like the only thing that I can really do is keep pushing and upping my own game. The nice thing to know now is like it is really cool that ID is this new incentive because not that anyone's like not working hard on the indies, but there's this extra little oomph of like what we do matters, what we do is appreciated, and what we do is being watched. And it's being watched by an MLP, it's being watched by like TNA, AEW, WWE, like everyone's watching. So it's just cool to know that it's like, I don't know, there's like a nice energy in the air of momentum. Which way are you going to see me go? I don't know.
I feel like you could fit in anywhere, and I feel like you could excel anywhere, and I feel like given the right opportunities for Aurora to evolve to the next stage of whatever evolution may be, I feel like it's a positive trajectory, and like I said, from 2021 to where we are now, just to tail end of 2024, this will drop either end of 2024 or early 2025. Um, I look at the trajectory, and I gotta say, I mean, this is our first conversation, but to be able to call your matches and see the evolution, like I've watched you at those student shows. I was in the stands at those student shows, and I've watched you evolve, and I've watched you take shape, and it's been nothing short of impressive. One of my favorite matches was outside the back. It was you and Bianca Crelli for the Battle Arts Women's Championship. It was outside because it was during the pandemic, so we all had to be segregated, but it was outside. It was a great fucking match. It was. It was a great match. You guys killed it. And then you disappeared all the way to UK.
Okay. I was like the first ever Battle Arts Women's Champion was the Scal right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I it was I don't know, Battle Arts was really cool because it was like even now doing Destiny shows, I have so many people that come up and they're like with like a picture of little baby me. I didn't even have gear yet. Like some of my first ever barely shows, and they were like, "Look, we knew you when you were Nessa Love." I was like, "Yep, W double V." I'm like, it's cool to see that like there are so many people that are legitimately invested in the journey. So, and look, you got a nice shot of 2 out of 3 right now.
I love it. I love it. They are just chilling, eh? They must be like, okay, mom's busy now. I'm just gonna chill out. But before they were all over the place. I
Well, they
loved it.
We're like, hey, mom, why are you awake?
Why are you awake?
You're not going for a walk. So
Don't worry, guys. In literally 10 minutes or less, you will be going for that walk. I promise you. Couple more questions. A couple more questions. I'm going to let you go enjoy the rest of your Saturday. But in terms of WoW and everything that you've done over there so far, everyone has that fight forever opponent. Everyone has that person. They just have that instant chemistry. You talked about a few individuals. You talked about the girl from Spain. You talked about, the learning tree that you've encompassed at WoW. You've talked about, I would say that WoW has definitely probably helped polish and shape you to who you are right at this minute in time. It's not your final form, but it's definitely here. It's happening. Who would you say at WoW is someone that you feel like you could fight forever? It could be 10 years down the road. You both have moved on from WoW. You've had bigger opportunities, bigger stages, and all of a sudden you're staring across that ring at that person who you feel is your fight forever. In terms of the WoW roster right now, who would you put in that position?
so being in a tag and doing lots of trios, honestly, the bane of my existence is top tier. All of them. But there's something about that Delilah Doom slash Gloria Glitter that I'm like, if we had to do a go around the world, I'm like, this girl will force me to up my game every single time. But sometimes there's this nice one uppery, and no matter how much top tier can get, annoying when I'm a low Karakai dojo defender trying to, fight for honor, and they're all being like little nasties. But there's something about Delilah Doom slash Gloria Glitter that I'll go around the world with her if I have to. But honestly, keep anyone that hasn't watched WoW, you should watch WoW for the main purpose of, I think a big part of me finding my groove was this season with top tier. It's more than a trilogy. It's so I just everyone needs to follow that, and you will see where my fire and my oomph really, really got lit. So literally taking me to my limit and then topping it. So really proud of the work that this season brought for me. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I smiled instantly as soon as you said Gloria because I was hoping it was going to be Gloria because I feel like you two literally have. I feel like you two would eventually come up with your own match to settle the score because every other match would have been done at that point.
Keep on watching. Keep
Yeah.
watching.
All right. Before I let you go, 2024 has closed out in an amazing chapter. I feel like Canada's bar of talent has been raised. The WWE ID program being announced has been raised. Jake Paul didn't beat Mike Tyson. I lost $50. What can we say about the world as it is? Donald Trump is back in the office. Justin Trudeau is literally getting impeached every other minute. Canada sucks with its prices of everything, but we still have pro wrestling. And pro wrestling is the cheapest form of entertainment because it's available everywhere. So I feel like that's the coolest part. Unless you're, actually going to buy a ticket, then you're paying a whole lot of money. Not at an indie show, mind you, but everywhere else. When, again, the evolution of 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. I believe your trajectory is just shining brighter. I think you are such a talent, and also you're a sweetheart. This is our first kind of conversation, but I feel like I've had a blast, and I want to let you know now you are officially a member of the Straight Talk family. So now that we are peoples on Facebook, there should be no, back and forth or waiting months for replies.
No, we're in the clear now. We are out of the message requests folder. So.
Perfect. George has made it to the top. He has. So when you look at 2025, I'm not going to say, what are your goals for 2025? But what is, I guess, one thing you want to achieve in 2025, whether it be professionally or personally? Just one really obtainable goal that you feel that you can knock out next year.
So honestly, haven't sat down, and so I always at the end of every year do my nice little reflection and go back of all the things that I'm super hyper proud of, and then try to top myself from there. So I'm not gonna put myself in a box just yet because I haven't looked at my fancy list and done my whole reflection. Um, but I just think I really feel like I found my groove coming back to Canada, and it was a little anxiety inducing because I'm like, well, I've made this name for myself in the UK and Europe, and then what am I when I go back to Canada? Because I left here and I was just a fresh little green bean. I was just a student, and I didn't know what coming back meant for me. And the work that I've been doing with Dungeon and with like Maple Leaf, like I feel like I'm really solidifying myself as someone to follow in Canada. So I think just gonna keep doing what I'm doing and solidify myself as one of the top women in Canada, and like then maybe just take over North America, just all that.
A Canadian superhero just running the gamut. I love it. I absolutely love it. Before I let you go, look at the camera, give me that Arorua Teves energy, and let people know you had hopefully a pretty cool conversation with Straight Talk, and they should subscribe because I'm underrated and I'm slept on, and we got to get them people woke.
So not necessarily your wokest of queens. I feel like I missed the wavelength. I feel like I'm just like on the outside of that, the elder emos. So I don't know if I get to use the cool word, but Straight Talk, this is a lovely conversation. And if you don't subscribe, I mean, how are you going to know when I come back and I drink my another morning coffee? And maybe Freya, Ahsoka, and Dexter will have their own moments. They're huskies, they can chat. So like, yeah, follow, subscribe, follow me, Aurora Wrestling, so that way you can see where I'm at, what I'm doing. If I'm on here again, we need a community, energies. Let's go. Put it all into the universe.
I love it. That is the absolute best way to end this kick-ass conversation. Arorua Teves, thank you so much for giving me the time. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Guys, that's it for this one. Peace, love, and wrestling. We will see you next time. Peace.
So long.
We just people from the north side. Once the Timmy's hit the shore fine. Winter ready on the full ties. Heavy traffic during 4-5. Gotta hustle on your own time. Color people every port side. We just people from the north side.